All right. Hello, Internet, and welcome back to Antiheroes Anonymous, or welcome for the first time if it's your first time joining us. I'm Ethan, and I'm the Dungeon Master for this 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons show! I've got some announcements and a kind of weak recap
Oh my god.
because this is the final episode of this campaign. But before I get into any of that, let's do a couple quick player introductions. Nick, would you go ahead and kick those off?
Sure. Hi, I'm Nick. I play Sir Thaddeus Hammerlock, the Human Vengeance Paladin.
Hi, I'm Kay. I play Harmony, who is a tiefling wild magic sorcerer.
Hi, I'm Zach. I play Zant, the human fighter ranger, and I was just gonna say it'd be kind of funny if it was your first time joining us because
It's a weird time to join.
it's a weird time,
Yeah.
but right on.
Hi, I'm Melissa, and I play Mara, who is a human rogue swashbuckler.
So those announcements I talked about. We premiere our episodes every Monday at 7 p.m. Pacific time. Throughout the show, we use a variety of custom items as well as a custom wild magic table. So be aware of that as you're watching this final episode of this campaign. I say that, but we'll use custom items in the next campaign too. Character portraits, which you'll see on the info cards, were drawn by an artist named Carrie Peach, who goes by @CarrieDraws on Twitter. If you need a refresher on anything that's going on in this campaign or the characters in the world, you can check out our campaign wiki at World Anvil. Other than that, you can check the video description for links and information about everything I just mentioned and more, including some links to some Black Lives Matter resources. You can follow us on Twitter at Antiheroes for more information about what we are doing and when. And that will probably become relevant pretty soon because, as I mentioned, this episode will wrap up our first campaign. However, I am pleased to announce that we will be back next week for the return of Antiheroes in Exandria, which is a sort of separate series run by Kay.
Hi.
And then after that, we're going to do a bit of an arc in Exandria with Kay. And then after that, we will come back for a second campaign set in this world, which we have been already talking about characters and preparing for. So yeah, like I said, keep an eye on our Twitter and we will post some things there about what's coming in the near future. Other than that, we just hope you enjoy the show, share with your friends, and come back to watch some more. So, recap real quick. We've done a whole campaign. We started in June of 2016. It's 4.5 years later. We're still playing. These characters have done quite a few things. They traveled all the way across the continent of Freydin from Ravenmoor over to Marble Cleft Landing. They sailed across the ocean to Kamekame Island before teleporting back to Ravenmoor for a brief time, and then back to Kamekame Island again so that they could sail from there to the Elderhaven Reaches. From the Elderhaven Reaches, they completed their initial quest, and then 5 years passed, and then a ominous sign appeared from hell and launched them into a more planar campaign where they visited the city of Sigil, procured various means of preparation, and embarked in a journey into the Hells, where they ran into conflict with numerous archdevils and Asmodeus himself at some points. And now they have returned to their home plane, battled an archfey / goddess / great old one, and we're about to see what happens in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years or so. So let's dive into it. How did I do? Did I recap the whole campaign?
Yeah, that was
Record
better than
time.
the one I wrote.
Yeah, I was half expecting you to be like, this is the last episode. Go watch it from the beginning if you want to recap.
That's the recap Nick gave me, but I don't know. Had to do something. So, to set the scene, we're going to pick up briefly in the moments initially just after you banished the goddess / archfey / great old one Nasheen to the far realm. So to remind you of the scene, the group of you are currently surrounded by numerous friends and family who helped you throughout your battle against this immensely powerful being. You are standing on sort of chunks of moon rock that were broken off of the moon itself when a beam from Thaddeus's sword bored into the moon from the ground below and dug a hole into it, releasing the being Nasheen from her long, the prison she had dwelled in for a long time. And so you currently have a view of the planet Alen'dal down below. Much of the continent of Freydin, which many of you call home, is currently obscured by snow clouds and things like that, as it is in the firm grasp of winter in the last months of the year. But you can see now no longer obscured by the black fog. You can see the Elderhaven reaches along one side of the planet. And it is kind of slowly turning so that you can see various other parts of the world as well. As you are being celebrated by your friends and family, and everyone is rejoicing in the great victory that was won here today, many of them begin to sort of glow with a radiant moonlight, reminiscent of the moment when those beams of moonlight pierced the darkness surrounding Alen'dal, and the group of them were teleported to you to help in the battle. And one by one, they kind of begin to turn into these beams of moonlight again and streak back down towards Alen'dal, some of them piercing snow clouds and things like that, and returning to their previous positions. Until finally, it's really only Sial who is left. And Sial just kind of looks around at the group of you, sort of expectantly waiting for their turn to be zapped into a beam of moonlight. And then they finally say, well, I guess that means it's up to me to get you down from here.
Please and thank you.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing.
But it's at that moment that Thaddeus, a few chunks of moon rock away, you spot out of the corner of your eye a glimmer of moonlight, and as you turn in that direction, you see the form of Esanahen standing there in her sort of godly, radiant armor, and she kind of gives you a nod, beckoning you over that direction.
I'll say to Sial, give me just a minute then. I'll walk over to Esanahen.
Sial gives you a nod and then turns to the group of you and says, well, I guess we'll wait for him and enjoy the view for a moment, shall we?
Once in a lifetime view, eh?
I reckon very few people get to see what we're seeing right now. And Thaddeus, as you approach Esanahen, you can see that her form is distinctly diminished from when you originally entered her court back in, why am I blanking on the word? Arborea, there's the one. Presumably from all the power she had to expend to arrange all of your allies coming to help in this battle and things like that. But as you approach, she gives you a nod and says, Sir Thaddeus Hammerlock, never in my long existence have I had a follower as devoted and worthy as yourself. And there is nothing I can do with the remainder of my existence to thank you.
Well, you honor me by saying so, my lady. I hope that I've been a useful tool for you.
More than useful. A deity though I may be, I was not always one. And I cannot speak for the rest of my fellow gods, but I find that I, well, still occasionally learn a thing or two from the mortal people of the world. And I've certainly learned quite a bit by watching you and your companions.
Thaddeus nods a bit and says, I think I understand more about you than when I started this journey too.
Oh?
I always wondered, back when, during the Tadriel thing, I always wondered why. I guess why I wasn't punished for dealing justice incorrectly. You know, as we understood the full extent of what had happened there, I thought maybe I had made the wrong decision, and was too eager to slay Tadriel and his daughter.
Yes, well, there are many factors that go into the concept of justice, and human error is one of them.
And that is nonsense. But now that I know you better, I think I understand why you find it hard to judge people too harshly for making the wrong call there.
Well, I appreciate you saying that you've come to understand that aspect of my being a bit more, but my sisters do often say that I am harsher than I ought to be. However, I do try, as best as I can, to understand the grays of morality that the people of the world must operate within.
But it's
Back
hard
with-
to carry out.
Back with Tadriel, you made a judgment based on the knowledge that you had. And even if you later thought perhaps it wasn't the correct judgment, that reflection shows that you were growing and changing, doesn't it not? I think that's an important factor to consider. No one can say whether a better outcome would have occurred if you'd done something differently. Even me. And she points to herself.
I wonder if I had been Eli instead of Thaddeus, if I would have made a different decision. It's hard to judge family, isn't it?
It certainly is. I know that you and I have both struggled with that throughout the years.
Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Is that I don't know if that makes me a better knight in your service or not, but I think I've learned some things about the vow and about you and everything.
The willingness to accept that you have not perfect understanding and to recognize that you have room to grow is what I think makes you the greatest of my servants. And perhaps you were not always that way, but that is how you've come to be, and I appreciate that greatly about you. And I think that in the coming years, it will be a trait that serves you well. When Harmony banished my sister, you may have realized it or you may have not, but things from the other side of that portal, that rift, they looked back at us. They saw Alen'dal, I'm certain. And I don't know how that will change the world, but I'm sure that it will. And I think that the companions you have gained and the awareness of yourself that you have strived to obtain will help you in whatever follows.
Well, there's certainly been evils that threatened Alen'dal that I've had no regrets. Alkeen and his kind, and if what lies beyond that rift comes for us, I think that they'll meet the same judgment.
I'm confident it is so. What judgment waits me and my sisters when I return to Arborea? That is unclear to me, however. Coralon was quite angry with how things have transpired with my sister, with Nasheen.
But didn't they offer their assistance?
They did, and Coralon is a strange being in that regard, but before I summoned the group of you to council, Coralon was furious. Everything was well and good while Nasheen remained trapped, but when Nasheen escaped, I think Coralon saw that as our fault, and it certainly is to some large extent. So All that is to say that the god of judgment is occasionally judged herself.
Well, I don't know what I can say to help matters there, but if you need a character witness, I suppose.
Coralon is a being of feeling and emotion. They move as their feelings direct, and I doubt a character witness would do me any good, but I will keep that in mind.
All right. Well, I'd better not keep my friends waiting for too long.
No, you'd best return. In fact, I can't hold this form much longer myself. I am very taxed. It will take me many years to recover.
Thank you for all you gave us today. And Thaddeus bows and walks away.
Okay. Before, when any of you look over and see Thaddeus coming your direction, Asanahan has already vanished. However, while Thaddeus was having that conversation, the group of you saw something as well. Probably Zant was the first to spot it. Though I imagine once it was spotted, you would probably pass around the scope, trying to get a good look.
Yeah.
Sorry. You see sort of a glint as you're looking towards the moon, which now has a significant hole through its center. Something comes into view that, from the perspective of someone standing down on Alen'dal, had previously been completely obscured, invisible to all who looked up into the night sky. You see a glint. And as you sort of fix your scope on it and try and get a better look at it, you see that it is the light of the sun and the stars reflecting off of something metal. And you kind of focus your scope towards it. And you can see that beyond the moon, not so far from Alen'dal, a ways, but not extremely far, there is another blue and green and brown orb hovering in space, surrounded by these sort of crisscrossing metallic rings, which seem to orbit around it. You see another planet.
Another planet.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, so can you explain where we're seeing this planet again?
So it kind of comes into view from behind the moon itself.
Okay.
Presumably, everyone who looked up from Alen'dal before, this celestial object, would have been obscured by the moon.
Mm-hmm.
But from your vantage point, you can see it clearly.
Okay. Is there... what do we notice about this planet?
Like I said, there are greens and blues to it, and also the brownish areas that indicate land masses. You can see sort of the whites of clouds that indicate, storms and other weather phenomenon happening on the surface. And the whole thing seems to be surrounded by this pair of crisscrossing artificial metallic rings that kind of circle around it.
Huh. What did the rings have to do with the planet, exactly?
They just seem to be in orbit around it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have we
But
ever...
they're very clearly metallic because they're glinting with the sun.
I see. What do you think about it, Blitz? What about Bianca? What do you think about this?
You give Bianca the scope, it just kind of goes,
Yeah.
Meow.
Can you make that noise? Okay, yeah, kind of I guess I'm wondering, but I kind of look at it sort of puzzled. Did any of us ever know there was other, I guess, planets within this, nothing? Huh. Interesting. We're gonna turn to a sci-fi game pretty soon instead of a fantasy game, I think.
Yeah, how?
Does love him some Spelljammer.
I'm kind of curious. It's within the same plane though, right?
It's within the same material plane.
Can we scry on the surface of the planet?
I don't think so, but perhaps.
Do you have to scry on a person, or can you scry on a location?
I think
thought
you
it was
can scry on
person-
a location.
Yeah, I thought it was like
It's
person,
not a thing.
location, object, or something.
No, you can't scry on an object.
Not
It's
an
a
object?
person or a location. I'm pretty sure.
Isn't it, I think it's just a person. Yeah. You
Hmm.
can see it
Instead
and
of
hear it
targeting a
particularly.
creature, you can choose a location you have seen before.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, does that count? I mean, I'd like to try it at some point.
Yeah.
Huh.
But for now, that is pretty much all that you can see. And
Okay.
Cial remarks, well, now that is incredible. That is something I might be curious to explore in the near future.
You and I both now.
I'm actually a little surprised you didn't know it was there.
Well, I've never had this vantage point, have I?
That's true, but I mean, who knows what kind of vantage points you've had.
Besides, this is not the only world that I visit to sell my wares. Anyways, shall I get the group of you home?
Yes.
Please.
We always knew you were worldly. We just didn't know you were otherworldly. Wow.
Other planar. Cial begins to cast a teleport spell, and it is instants later that the group of you find yourselves in the small town of Northwood, in Cial's closed-up shop where you first met them. And with that, we're going to.
I don't know if Thaddeus and Mara have been here before, actually, because we met Thaddeus on the way to Redwater.
Yeah.
And Mara was in the capital.
Thaddeus has only been to Cial's Ferndale location.
Yeah.
There's an inn here, which the party has free drinks at for life, called the Green Dragon Inn. There is mounted on the wall of the inn, I think, the head of a green dragon that the party slew here.
Looks suspiciously like the earrings I wear.
Yes, very suspicious.
The green scale earrings I wear.
But with that, we're going to skip forward to sort of the next few days, the next week. Is there anything that the group of you want to accomplish within the next week?
Well, Thaddeus, I know you're probably itching to get back to Dawn in Ferndale, and I've got some unfinished business there too. So anyone who wants to hitch a ride to Ferndale, I'm happy to bring us there.
There is one last item on the agenda, you know.
What is that?
The matter of Gregorian.
Oh yeah. How many days do we have left to do that? Maybe we should take care of that first. We can actually walk to Ravenmoor from here, right? How far was it to Ravenmoor
was just a day or two's travel south from here. Yeah.
I mean, it'd be faster to teleport, but
then you can teleport again, right?
I can teleport at least like 3-4 times if I have to. 3 to 4 times.
You have 5 days left, so plenty of time.
But I can teleport us to
It might be nice
Ravenmoor.
just to walk for.
Are there carriages that go back and forth between these roads?
Or what about the train tracks?
They
were building.
So the train doesn't stop in Northwood,
right?
But you could go north
We
a
could
little
go
way and catch a train from like Redwater down to Ravenmoor,
or from Ravenmoor to the capital.
Yeah.
We have yet to ride a train in this campaign.
We are going to.
Yeah,
that could be like our final adventure together, is riding the train from Ravenmoor to Ferndale. I mean,
it's the group of all of you, like super decked out level 20 adventurers sitting in the train carriage.
Whoever gets, we have to roll initiative for who gets the first train pass.
So
I should say the second one because Mara's gonna get the first one. It's up to us 3 to get the second one.
So we'll go on foot to Ravenmoor and deal with Gregorian, and then we'll take a train to the capital.
Oh yeah.
Just for the fun of it.
Sounds good.
Okay.
When you get to Ravenmoor, how would you guys like to deal with Gregorian? We've got to start abstracting bits of this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead. You had a good idea.
Yeah. The plan I had was to go through the gate to the Shadowfell that's in Ravenmoor, and teleport to a random location in the Shadowfell. and then from there read the summoning scroll and then plane shift our way back, so that Gregorian is dumped in a place where he has no idea how to get to the gate back to Alen'dal.
That sounds like a good plan. So the group of you enact that plan. You go through the Shadow Gate, which is in the basement of First Light Orphanage, which is being run by Ignatius. You're able to see lovable scamps like, why am I blanking on his name? Is it Alan?
Alan.
Yeah,
Mhm.
like Alan. In the brief time that you're there.
We should check in on the guard and his wife too.
I would also like to tell Alan that I found his sister and I'm going to try and bring her home.
The dogs are really loud in Ravenmore this time of year. Yeah, Alan is very happy to hear you say that, but he confides in you that he's come to terms with the loss, and if you can't do anything, then he doesn't hold it against you. He accepts. He's come to terms with the situation as it is now.
And I'll just give him a big hug and say, after everything you've done for me and for us, it's the least I can do to try.
Oh, I never really did much.
You're a hero. Ruffle his
Thank
hair.
So yeah, the group of you go through that portal, teleport to a random location. It's this sort of ashen gray plain with dead trees coming up out of it and dark, deep crevices that kind of snake their way through the plain. That's where you end up. And then you read the scroll to summon Gregorian there. And the large serpent-like form with a muscular humanoid male upper torso appears in a sort of burst of sulfurous fire. And he looks down at the group of you and says in his loud voice, "Ah, so you've accomplished your end of the deal. Very good. Where are we?"
That's for you to figure out.
Mm-hmm.
We're in the Shadowfell, though.
Don't come
Whatever you're-
looking for our home, Thaddeus says, and like unsheaths the sword just about an inch. We've
He
killed worse
shakes-
than you.
Yeah, he shakes his head and his like long black hair whips back and forth as he does. "Oh, I've had more than enough of you too. Trust me, I won't come looking for you." But when Zant says that it is indeed the Shadowfell, he just kind of gives a nod to Zant and says, "Well then, this is where we part."
And do we have a sign of the contract being fulfilled at this point?
Not in particular. So when you read from the scroll that summoned him here, it would have burned up.
Right.
And that's kind of, I think, the sign that your
Okay.
contract is fulfilled.
Okay.
But wasn't he supposed to give us something? He had an anchor for us, as I recall.
Did-
Yeah.
Yeah, for Mara's grandpa.
Oh,
But I
yeah,
feel like,
that's right.
did he give it to us before, or was he holding it as ransom?
I think he might have been holding on to it, in which case he would give it to you now.
Okay.
I can't remember exactly.
Thank you, Thaddeus.
And in fact,
Rosie, get
Later.
my granddaughter.
in addition to giving it to you, he was supposed to relinquish his hold on the bargain that was binding your grandfather. And so
That's right.
when he gives you the anchor, the sort of names that were inscribed on it all fade away into nothingness. And it's just sort of a plain anchor.
So in the back of Mara's mind, she hears all these people going, "Yay, yay, yay!"
Well, have a nice life, or whatever.
Or whatever.
And I'll gather everyone
Likewise.
around, minus Gregorian, and cast Plane Shift to get us home.
Okay. So you return to Ravenmore. You get train passes. The annoying little twerp running the booth selling tickets won't accept the fact that you guys are heroes of the world as reason enough to give you a free ticket. And eventually you do have to pay a couple gold to get your tickets.
Wow,
Despite
that's
I
how
roll
much
a
that
persuasion
tickets.
check for that because that's bull.
Yeah, I mean, sure, roll it.
Point to Mara and say, "She's danced with Zilpip Thimblefoot."
So I
Tone.
rolled an
It's
18
not
on
everyone
die.
can say that.
I rolled an 18 on die, and my bonus is 11. So
Okay. He lets Harmony in for free because he finds you charming.
yes.
The rest of you suckers have to pay.
I'll pay.
How much is it?
It's just like a couple gold total. It's no big deal.
All right, fine.
And you guys get on the train, and it is indeed a very quick and efficient way to travel that doesn't sort of cause you to feel, like seasick when you land, as Harmony's teleporting sometimes does.
Waiting for the train robber scene that Ethan's been waiting to show us, and since the first.
Nope, not this time.
Okay.
Is there anything else you want to accomplish within the immediate days after
Yeah, Ronan, the Ronan thing.
the Ronin
Yes.
thing?
Yeah.
How do you go about that?
Well, I guess it's just gonna have to be a wish.
Did we never learn anything more from Ciel, who was looking into it?
Great memory.
I think I told you all that Ciel was able to
Okay.
learn.
Okay.
I like how there's still like a part of their soul attached, and that's abnormal, and we use that to undo it somehow.
Yeah, so I think on the train ride I'm discussing with the group, like I think the only way to do it is to wish for it, but I'm not quite sure how to word it. Do you guys have any ideas?
Well, what about the way that Thaddeus cleansed Zerial? If Ronan is still in there and truly willing to come back, maybe there's another way to do that. Can we like speak with her subconscious somehow without trying to? Because wish is pretty risky. Not risk is pretty wishy.
Yes,
So-
the risk spell.
Yeah, it's risky, but like it's not like we're in the middle of doomsday and about to die.
I understand.
I have if it does the same thing that it did to me when I changed you back into a human, like I can just hang out in the capital for a week and bug Dawn and it'll be fine. There are worse places to be bedridden.
I think Harmony's magic's more likely to accomplish it than mine anyway. We had a lot going for us in the Zerial conversion.
Mm.
And that
Really
had a lot
helps.
to do with your your friends on Arborea too.
And
I
who
wonder.
have been pretty drained. I don't know if they would be capable of something like this.
I wonder also if since Malagard has been slain, if that has released any of her hold on Ronan as well. It might make it easier for us to convert
Yeah.
her back.
Which brings it back to my original question. How should I word this wish?
She can have all the unicorns she wants.
That's a dangerous wish. That's dangerous. No, something like I wish for
Revert her
Ronan
form.
to be restored to her human self.
Wish for Ronan to have had the life that she ought to have if she hadn't.
That
been-
seems too ambiguous, doesn't it? The thing about this magic is you have to be real specific. You can't leave it open to interpretation.
Wish for Ronan to have had the life she would have if Mother Midnight had never.
No, because that could change everything. That could change
I
everything
see.
about what we did.
That's true. That's true.
Remove all components of Hag.
The other way that could go is Ronan is transformed into like a regular old lady, as if she'd lived a whole life in Alen'dal, something like that.
Yeah.
I see what you mean. I never thought about how difficult this must be for you.
Yeah.
I mean, we can ask for this wish to cleanse Ronan of this
Of the hag curse.
the hag plague. Yeah, because
That
then it
might
would
work.
just. I think because then we wouldn't be trying to alter a past.
Cleanser
Yeah.
of the hag's corruption, which might take care of
Yeah.
the body and the mind.
Yeah. That might work.
I mean,
And
I don't know if it would return her to her child's body
well, I think
do you want
it's-
to say something
because
about
she's
her
already grown
soul?
up, but
her
But-
soul
Yeah.
too, though? Has her soul been corrupted?
I think
Maybe
that's
cleanse her
maybe,
soul
I'm
as
hoping
well.
that's part of it.
Yeah, maybe.
But-
Removing the hag's corruption from her soul might restore her soul.
I mean, I hate to say it this way, but it's kind of a price to pay, some years of age or something when
Yeah.
this has happened.
And I don't think
And
that
she-
would be the end of the world if she came back and she was an adult, but she's still
Right.
human.
Or
and
still
restored.
a hag, as long as it was her mind free and
Right,
clear
if she's
of-
in full control and a good person again,
Yeah.
instead of
and
an
not-
evil creature.
Yeah. So I wish for Ronan to be cleansed of the hags of Mother Midnight's corruption, specifically, or just the hag's corruption,
I like the hag plague.
the hag plague. I'm not gonna say that. That's not a plague.
Okay. Yeah.
A hag's corruption.
You know more about it than I do. I'll leave
So
it up to you.
given our research, is there like some term that would make that more clear between like, is it actually called like hagism or something like that, or like is there like
The transformation into a hag.
Yeah.
Hagism.
I mean, based on what you
Hagitis.
guys
Hag's
know, I
magic.
think what you've come up with is pretty good.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, there's risks. Like, you don't know exactly what age she'll return,
He's gonna
but
be. Yeah.
that ought to do it. The one thing I'll say is it doesn't explicitly say, like, make her soul a whole, complete soul, right? Because the whole deal with her right now is that there's a shard of her soul still in there, but it's
Mhm.
kind of broken and fragmented.
I wonder if it would work if it was an and.
I mean, you probably could with a wish, right? Like you can say
Right.
and restore,
Yeah, like I wish to cleanse Ronan. I wish to cleanse Ronan's soul of the hag's corruption. No, I wish to remove
Body
the
and
hag's
soul?
corruption from Ronan and restore her soul.
Well,
Yep.
wouldn't it be to restore her soul? Because that's what corrupted it in the first place.
I mean, it's both now. 'cause
That's
like,
just
it's-
semantics now. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's
Semantics
probably
apparently matter.
they do.
That's true. That's a good
But
point.
I
That's a good
think that's
point.
probably as good as you're going to get.
DM says it'll work, you guys.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
All right.
So the group of you gather in front of the cell where rotten Rowan has been stored for the past few days.
Are we gonna have to take her out of the cell? I can't remember if the cell you couldn't cast magic inside the cell or if it was just. I can't remember.
Yeah, there
the
was like
cell
a-
itself was like a field of anti-magic.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So we're
you
gonna have to
wouldn't
take
wanna-
her.
Yeah.
That's not hard though, because
Yeah.
she's still bound, gagged, and doesn't have any spell casting components. So you take her out and you cast the wish with the wording that you established. And she is surrounded by a cloud of rainbow magic that swirls around her for some minutes. And all of you can feel the sort of surge of magic that is occurring here during this time. This world and reality bending wish spell. But when the cloud of rainbow subsides, a young girl is standing there and she kind of looks blearily at the group of you before collapsing to the ground.
Catch her.
She looks very much like she did the first time that you met her back in Cranston Manor, when she had seemingly been aged a significant amount, but still within the realms of a child. Because she was kidnapped as a baby, but then by the time you found her some days later, she had already aged into a young child. And sort of that's the form that she takes when the magic subsides. But then she sort of collapses on the ground.
Anybody good with medicine check?
In Harmony, you feel intensely weak as well.
I need to roll, don't I?
So Harmony kind of collapses
I'll
to a
help
knee
Harmony.
as well, simultaneously with Ronan.
I'll give
Okay.
her a little piggyback ride.
Thank you.
What kinds of
Oops.
creatures are hags?
Normally
Aren't they?
Fae,
Same.
Give me a second here.
hags are Fae, night hags are fiends. generally.
Okay.
I'm gonna cast Detect Evil and Good.
Which would tell you if either of those types of creatures were around.
Yeah, if Fae or Fiend were within 30 feet of me.
You feel no sense of any of those creatures nearby.
Nice.
All right. Should I roll my D100?
Do it.
I'm really nervous because last time I did this,
Yeah.
I almost
You
lost
know.
it.
So 33 or lower.
I know. Come on. Oh no.
No
It's a
way.
30. It's a 31.
No way.
Oh, come on.
Do I get to re-roll it with my
You can bend luck and re-roll one of those dice if you want to.
Yes. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna re-roll the 30 again
No,
because
reroll the 1, right?
should I?
Wouldn't that give you a better chance? Because you already have 30,
That's true. It just needs to be higher than a 3. Okay, I'll re-roll the 1.
I think, right?
I mean, either of them needs to be higher than 3.
It's a 1 again.
Oh, no.
And
Cool.
with that, Harmony, you feel a powerful magic drain from you, along with the physical strength that disperses from your body as you cast the spell.
What are the fucking odds that I
Low.
roll 2 1s in a row?
Yeah, very low.
About 33%. Yeah.
That one's going in fucking jail. Bullshit.
Forever. You should make a
By
dice
jail, you
jail
mean
out
the
of that
trash.
dice. Yeah. That's too bad.
Well, at least if it was gonna happen, it's right at the end of the campaign.
Oh, dang, we weren't recording. We have to do the roll again.
Ah!
Oh, no. Oh, what a mistake.
Like
What a
that, Zach.
mistake. Oh, no.
In the next few days, Ronan does wake up. She has really no memory of what has happened in the last 5 years or so. At her age, she seems to be now. She's a few years younger than Alan, but the age gap between them seems to have closed a bit. When Alan sees her again, he seems to be first disbelieving, but then the two run to each other and just embrace in the biggest hug. Despite the fact that they parted while she was a baby, she does still seem to have some memory of who he is. And they just embrace and instantly begin, running around and playing with each other. But eventually, Alan comes up and he just gives each and every one of you the biggest hug. But of course, the tightest and the longest hug goes to Harmony. And he just keeps saying, "Thank you, thank you, thank you. I can't believe that you did this, that you were able to."
Yeah, neither can I, to be honest. But it wasn't just me. These guys helped me quite a bit too. I wouldn't have been able to do it without them.
Oh,
Really,
shucks, man.
I owe you everything, and I know that's not much coming from a random orphan kid, but the rest of my life, anything I can do to help you, I will. I promise.
I'm gonna hold you to that.
Good. I expect you to. And then he's like, as he's saying this, he's constantly glancing over his shoulder at Ronan, who is kind of meeting the rest of the orphan kids. And he just finally gives in and runs back over to be with her again.
I just want to say, for fun, I rolled the 10-digit die just to see what I would have gotten, and it was a fucking 8. So thanks, Zach.
Technically, you had the best possibility of rolling the 1.
I know, but I was gonna roll the 10-digit, and then you changed my mind.
I'm sorry.
It's all right.
I think it's kind of a deceptive choice because either way, you just need a 4 or above.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So either way, it's the same odds, I think.
That's true.
Anyways, with that, I think the next few days begin to pass on quickly as Harmony recovers from her fatigue. And I guess you would have had to take a train back unless Harmony wanted to teleport in her fatigued state. to return Ronan to.
Yeah, I wouldn't. How many days would I have been fatigued? There's like the necrotic damage issue too.
It's
Or is
not
that just
really
until
super
I can't
important
remember.
though.
Yeah.
The days roll on, and the group of you begin to be pulled in separate directions for things that you want to accomplish in the next months to a year. And let's talk about what happens in the year after the events of the battle against Nasheen. Does anyone have anything that comes to mind immediately in sort of the next year?
Well, you know what I've got planned,
I do know what you have planned.
but I don't want to do that first.
I want to end the year with that one.
Yeah.
So I think the only thing that I would be curious about is that other planet, because it's kind of like that's something that like just happened.
Yeah, that's a good question. Something does happen within the next year in regards to that. It's discovered that in the night sky, with the proper, astronomical, is that the right term for?
Yeah, that's
I
fine.
think so. Astronomy. With the proper astronomy gear, you can actually see this other planet through the hole that is created in the moon during certain lunar cycles. And people around the world begin sort of studying it and observing it. And it's given a sort of temporary name. People begin to call it Planet A002 or A002. Sometimes they shorten it to Alpha 2 for short. And researchers across the globe, in the Elderhaven Reaches, in Freydin, in Aedeas, in the Stratian Empire, all begin to sort of observe and collect data on this new planet that they can see.
Okay.
That happens within the next year.
Does the moon still have phases? Because you mentioned that you can see it during certain phases of the moon, but like, does the moon still an eye all the time?
Yeah, so that's another interesting question. The sort of the rocks that were projected out from the moon and formed that sort of eye shape begin to rotate around the moon itself. So a lot of the time it does have that eye shape, but sometimes when the asteroid belt that now orbits the moon is in a certain position, it will kind of block the hole in the center or things like that. So the phases of the moon still exist, but they're also now accompanied by the rotation of this belt of rocks around it.
Well, I have something, which is I need to talk to Moloch. Because
Moloch the dragon.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because not having Wish anymore is throwing a big wrench in a lot of my plans. So, yeah, I'm gonna. Where did he go after the fight?
It takes some searching, but I think you would find him sort of in the mountains near Redwater, because he kind of thought that's where you would come eventually.
Okay.
So you begin as you're sort of searching for him. You begin to hear rumors of a massive dragon that is occasionally seen flying out of the mountains in search of wild animals and things like that to take as food back to its cave. Dragons being very rare in Freydin, its news spreads quickly about this creature.
Okay, and yeah, so I'll track him down and poke my head into his cave or whatever. Moloch, it's me.
Yeah, there are sort of like big torches and things that are set up to light the cave, and they all burn with rainbow fire as you kind of poke your head in.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and as you kind of make your way into the cave, you hear the loud shuffling of a massive reptilian creature in the darkness before Moloch's head kind of looms out in front of you. And he says, "There you are, boss. It's good to see you."
Sorry it took me so long to find you.
He shakes his head. "It's fine, but I've been waiting."
You look like you've carved out a nice little home for yourself here.
He kind of stretches his wings, and you see that they definitely bang against the roof of the cavern. "I need a bigger one. Soon."
And I think I'll just start crying and just say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I promised that I would send you to Limbo, but I don't think I can anymore. I lost my
when you
magic.
cry, he kind of nuzzles his massive head against you and almost knocks you over.
Falling off balance.
"It's
Oh,
okay,
him.
boss.
I know
I'll
you
stick
wanted
around
to
here
leave.
for a little bit. And
We
then who
can,
knows? Maybe there's somewhere else."
I can help you find a nice volcano or something.
He kind of, he thinks about it and says, "That might be nice."
Or, I have a little bit of sway in Redwater. I might be able to get some builders to come out and make this a little bit more roomy and a little bit more, fitting for a king.
He kind of shakes his head and explains that in addition to the whole issue of room, he's starting to feel the need to accumulate a treasure hoard. And he doesn't think he can do that in Redwater.
You're probably right. I'll help you find a volcano or something. And a nice group of maybe kobolds to lord over.
"Ah, yes, some subjects. That would be very nice." He kind of rubs his claws together.
Yeah, so I think that I'll help him do that over the course of the next year.
Okay. Let's see. Where are there volcanoes? There's obviously there's volcanoes out at sea.
Kame.
Yeah, that one there.
Yeah, but
Kame.
that was a water volcano. That wasn't really a fire volcano.
Yeah,
True.
but there's probably magma in the earth beneath.
I have a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
In this quest, I'm going to enlist the help of Mara to take me sailing in the search of a volcano. And I'm going to invite Zant along on this trip because he's got the Chaos Amulet and I want him to help me figure out how to destroy it. That was another thing I had on my to-do list for the next year.
This lines up pretty well because there is something Mara told me, or Melissa told me Mara wanted to do in the next year, which is go for one last sail with her grandfather before he retires. I don't know. Would this qualify? Would this meet your criteria, Melissa?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Sounds like fun to me.
All right, let's do it.
So Harmony, Moloch, Mara, Zant, and Mara's grandfather Anton all set out in search of a volcano.
Meanwhile, I'm going to say at one point, I managed to procure a filter of love, probably from Seal.
Okay.
And at dinner one night, I'm going to very stealthily slip it into Mara and Zant's drinks and suggest they go for a walk.
Antiheroes Anonymous does not advocate for slipping things into people's drinks.
Hey, it worked the last time I tried to do it.
Do you use sleight of hand then?
I mean, would I have done it in front of you? Would I have prepared drinks on the side and brought them to you? You're like, hey, it's such a nice night. Actually, what I probably said was, hey, I thought I saw something out on the horizon, looked like another ship or something. Zant, maybe you should take your scope tomorrow. Oh, and here, take these drinks that I made. And I have one that I'm drinking too.
The two of you can decide if you're smart enough to realize Harmony's up to something.
I think we know her pretty well.
And go along with it if you want to.
So, Mara will nudge Zant and say, "You remember Thaddy and Don?
Yeah, I know. And I'll just like
Do you want-
I'll just dump the drink out.
Do you want to prank her though?"
Yes, I do.
You're such a
Okay.
spoil sport.
Let's prank her.
Okay.
Do you have a ring?
A ring.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe.
I mean, Harmony probably would have had to stop by the treasure hoard on that ghost ship in order to get the money to buy this potion from Cial. So you could have snatched up some
Well,
treasure
we
there
owed
yourself.
Cial quite a bit of money too. So
But we would have resolved that, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, that's
so
fine.
Yeah,
okay.
in passing, somebody mentioned at some point that we promised y'all like a share of the treasure, and there was no treasure.
we came back with no treasure because all the things we killed disappeared as soon as we killed them. We didn't get to loot any bodies.
But that doesn't mean that we didn't fulfill what we tried to do.
True.
So
True.
maybe that's still acceptable.
Anyway. Stop trying to avoid the scene. Zant.
My point was you could have obtained a ring from that treasure hoard if you wanted to.
I
So
see.
you have a ring on you
You want to
Yeah.
use
for the
this?
sake of a prank.
Yeah, let's prank her.
Okay.
Let's say we've been married for years.
Okay. Go ahead then.
And how is it possible that she hasn't known?
I know, right? I mean, it's obviously canon. Jeez.
Oh,
You were
Alright.
so lucky I don't have wish. I could make that true.
I know it's upsetting for you to lose it, but I do kind of like that you lost it on the third real wish you made.
Because it's
You get 3.
33% chance. Yeah.
yeah. And it was a really important one too.
And it was my third time rolling or a failure. That was my third time rolling a failure.
The universe is saying something. Saying stop.
Anyways, Mara and Zant prank Harmony for the night. A good time is had that night as the group of you laugh and joke together. Eventually, you do find a suitable sort of ocean volcano for which Moloch deems appropriate. And he, asks when you're going to bring him kobolds, but, kind of understands you're busy. And so he's just going to kind of get the lay of the land and settle in there. And the group of you sail off again. Mara, was there anything you wanted to accomplish while you're sailing?
Okay, sorry.
So what did you want to do? Okay.
Oh, unless Zant and I were unable to find a way to destroy the Chaos Amulet during the trip to the volcano,
you could try.
My plan was after we drop Moloch off, I'll just teleport back so that they can have the rest of the sail by themselves without the third wheel.
But my grandfather's on the boat.
How would the group of you want to try to destroy the Chaos Amulet?
Well, I was going to use Wish. But now my options are extremely limited.
Do you want to try and toss it into the volcano?
I don't think it would, because it's not something that just drops where you throw it. It kind of just sits there.
Well, Harmony Mara wanted to go to find Genbu again to introduce him to her grandfather as a big ta-da. But also, maybe you could give it to him.
I don't know. I mean, maybe we could ask Genbu about it, but
I'm not there, but out of character, Genbu is pretty good at hiding artifacts away for a long time.
That's true. But like, I don't want to just hide it. I just want to get rid of it. So I don't know if that means we have to
you'll know
find a way to banish it or permanently put it. Like, I was going to put it in a demi-plane and just never access the demi-plane again. That was my idea. But I can't do that anymore.
Should have just thrown it into the far plane.
Ooh, what if we find Orin?
What would that? What would that do
He's a
for us?
really powerful wizard. He might have the ability to banish it somewhere to do something that I no longer can. If we're gonna be finding Genbu anyway. Although I guess Genbu's moving around a lot.
Well, Genbu is not too hard to find. The group of you can find him.
We also have the
and
compass.
Genbu is very happy to meet your grandfather.
He sings him a shanty.
Yeah, you spend a couple nights just kind of in the boat talking with Genbu.
Is that mermaid around still? What was her name?
Well, that's what I
The
was going to say.
annoying one? The
Um,
one that Daddy liked?
I was going to say, on your way back to, deliver Anton to port and let him go about his retirement, you do encounter the pink-haired mermaid Delphine, and her octopus familiar Conch. And the pair of them kind of swim up alongside your boat and say, "Yoo-hoo! Hello!"
Except my blowout.
You made that same joke last time, Kay. And she kind of strikes up a conversation with Mara. The group of you have a couple fun, dives around the local area. But sort of at the end of the conversation, she ends up asking Mara, it does, pardon me if I'm incorrect, but it does seem to me as if you're as if you're looking for something to do in the future, a little bit of adventure. I myself, I consider myself a little bit of an adventurer, and I travel these seas and see what I can find. I'd be happy for a traveling companion, and I've been to many of the undersea cities if you would like to see them for yourself.
You mean me by myself with just my cloak? No ship? Is that what you mean?
Well, the ship won't, it won't travel underwater well, will it?
Well,
You can shrink it.
I know friends that might make that happen.
Well, if you can, by all means, but I think that you and me will do just fine.
That sounds like a wonderful idea. I love it.
I don't know why, but I thought you might. And when you agree to it, the octopus Conch kind of comes over and suckers onto your shoulders in like a big octopus hug. I think Conch likes you.
Underwater cities. I'll have to practice a new kind of sleight of hand.
Sleight of
Water
flipper?
one.
Yeah, sleight of something.
Underwater pickpocketing lessons.
But it'll be more slippery.
Got him.
Well, whenever you're ready to come with me and explore the ocean, just give a little call. I'll be there.
Okay, I know how to find you. Thanks.
And she kind of just dives back underwater with Conch. Harmony, did you think of a way to try to destroy the Chaos Amulet?
Yeah, I feel like it's just going to be a matter of finding someone who can cast the spell that I had wanted to cast originally, which is Demiplane.
What level spell
Maybe
is
my
that?
mother can cast it. I don't know. I think 8, maybe. Let me take a look.
Cial can go to, yes, it's 8th. Cial can go to quite a bit of trouble to procure the spell and learn it.
Or even like a scroll for me so I can do it myself.
Yeah, Cial can make that happen.
Yeah, then I think I'll probably rely on her for that. And I'll just put it in a Demiplane and it's, yeah, where no one can get it.
Okay, just making a note of that. Yeah, I mean, that goes off with Cial's help. The two of you together, powerful magic users that you are, you manage to sequester the Chaos Amulet in a Demiplane all of its own and seal the door on it, presumably never to be seen again.
Great.
Cool.
That's the plan.
Throughout the course of this year, Thaddeus, some messengers come for you from Adeus. And you learn that you have been granted a title within the Church of the Sisters of the Moon. You've actually been granted the highest honor one can without being sort of a teacher in the church. And you are granted the title of Grand Arbiter of Freydin within the church. Also, you begin to hear sort of rumors from Adeus as well, and the Church of the Sisters of the Moon, that many of the lower level clerics of those sisters have sort of lost a bit of connection. They can't seem to produce the same divine magic that they used to be able to. The higher level practitioners, such as yourself, your magic seems to remain unchanged. But knowing what you know, it kind of seems as if the Sisters of the Moon have had to scale back who they grant spells to some extent.
And I think Thaddeus, is trying to cast less than he used to, because he used to. Well, I say that, but I think one of the things Thaddeus is doing in this year, apart from all the other preparations he's making, is, and I'm sorry this didn't come up, but it's really a minor step, establishing a permanent temple specifically. Like he's going to build the temple of Cold Justice in Farendel.
Oh, very good. Yeah, your spell, if you cast it
every day for
a year, you can make a permanent temple, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so there was an existing temple to sort of the 8 sisters, but there was none specifically for Asanahin. So
yeah,
that's great. And you establish a little bit of a following there as well, where she wasn't particularly revered by too many. I think that one cleric you met at one point in the temple, the elven guy who was kind of a little bit shoddy, he becomes a member of your clergy, and he kind of steps up and begins to bring in new people as well.
Cool.
And yeah, especially because you have that title now, and you're such a prominent noble figure within the city, it begins to bring in a lot more people to Asanahin's faith. Let's see. Does anyone else have anything for this year? If not, there's one event that happens at the end of the year that is a very big event.
The only thing that I was interested in doing, I guess, is just like scrying on that planet and trying to contribute to the community that's researching it.
Yeah.
With magical means or whatever.
When you try to scry on it using the magical scrying orb that the group of you have, you still see the planet from afar. But you do begin to notice a few things that can't really be observed very easily from Alen'dal, which is that the rings seem to rotate around it in sort of like a, one of them goes kind of clockwise and one of them goes counterclockwise. They have these opposite orbits around the planet.
It's like gyroscopic, sort of like.
Yeah, gyroscopic is a good word for it.
Okay. All right. So yeah, I think that's probably what I would try and do for a portion of the year, sort of help research that a little bit.
With that said, then the thing that ends this year is the wedding between Sir Thaddeus Hammerlock and Dawn Arendora, Princess of Freydin. And Thaddeus and I, Nick and I talked a little bit about what the wedding is like. You all get invitations, and you're a little bit shocked to see that the wedding itself will be taking place at the crack of dawn. Just bright and early, first thing in the morning as the sun is rising. And then later in the day, actually in the evening, when the moon should be rising, there's to be a big reception, a big party. Zant or Thaddeus, do you want to talk to Zant about something?
What did we decide this was called? Did we?
Yes. So the tradition is that each of the parties selects a. Reading through all my notes here. Where did it go? I know I took a note of it. A guest of honor.
Okay. Yeah. So Thaddeus would at some point contact Zant and ask if he would like to be Thaddeus's guest of honor.
Zant would say, "It would be my honor, Grand Arbiter of Freydin."
And if you're trying to embarrass Thaddeus by referring to him a lofty title, that does not work.
Of course not. I would never do
It's
such
like,
a
yeah,
thing.
yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Thaddeus will explain like what you're expected to do,
Okay.
and like what your role in the ceremony is, and so on and so forth.
A big part of that role being that you have to guide the two who are getting married to their sort of appointed place before the clergy, and then and you have to guide them because both parties are blindfolded through most of the ceremony.
Hmm.
And it's also your duty to remove those blindfolds at the sort of the final moment after vows are exchanged.
Okay. Is it like at the same time, or after like one person does it, you remove their blindfold, and then the next person does it? And...
It's kind of at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Bree is selected naturally as Dawn's guest of honor, but Dawn and Bree come to harmony with a conversation that they want to have. And Dawn kind of starts it out. She probably visits you in Redwater, I suppose, is where she'd find you. And she says, "Hello, Harmony. It's been a while.
Hi, it's good to see you.
Did you get your invitation? I hope you.
I did.
Have.
Yeah, I don't know how I'm going to get up that early, but you know, anything for my friends.
I'm sure you'll manage. And in fact, I was hoping you would play a certain role in the ceremony.
Oh, really?
Yes, it's a very prestigious role. How familiar are you with Freydin's wedding traditions?
Not at all.
Well, I'll start from the beginning then. There's a role in every wedding ceremony called... Why can't I find anything in my notes? Oh, there it is. The objector. And the objector is meant to stand up at a certain point in the ceremony and recite a litany of all the ways in which the relationship is doomed to fail. It's more like a roast of the parties involved.
That sounds like a terrible idea.
Well, it's not taken seriously. It's done in jest, and it's meant to poke fun at the two who are getting married. And then at the end of the roast itself, there is a sort of staged duel between the objector and the bride's guest of honor, and she kind of points at Bree at this point. Now, unfortunately, you do have to lose.
Oh, dang.
However,
can I give her a run for her money, though?
Naturally, it wouldn't be a very good. It wouldn't be a very good showing if you didn't. Anyways, this role is as much a part of the wedding as things like the ring bearer and the guest of honor, and it is a honored role to have. It only goes to someone who, has a good relationship with both parties. So, I hope you'll do me the honor of doing that part.
Yeah, sounds like fun. Thanks for asking.
I'll leave Bree here so that the two of you can work out your duel. I'm sure you'll make it very dramatic, and I look forward to seeing it. And please, don't go too hard on Thaddeus. You know how his pride can be sometimes.
Oh, I'm very well aware.
And with that, she kind of leaves you and Bree to work out your objector duel.
Oh my gosh. I have a feeling that we're just making a spectacle in the middle of Redwater for a couple days. Like we have a crowd come to watch us.
Because she's like firing blanks.
People like yell out, "You should do this."
Yeah. And I'm just making it ridiculous. Like I polymorph her at one point.
That's great.
Don't add more red to the water, Harmony.
I'm not using damaging spells. I'm using silly things like dominate person to make her like do a dance or stand on her head or whatever. That kind of thing.
The actual day comes and you arrive at the wedding location, the venue, early in the morning, first thing before the sun is even up. But you see that the area is it's a big area. A lot of people are expected to attend because this is in fact a royal wedding. You see actually two groups of priests. There's some from the Church of the Moon Sisters in Aedeas, and then there's some from the Church of Pelor. And both are here to kind of preside over the wedding together. Thaddeus, when you arrive, you recognize one of them as your old teacher and mentor, Nadine, like a kind of strict 75-year-old, female human, very much standing kind of with her arms behind her back, like at attention the entire time, very much like the stern and silent type. And Dawn has a mentor from her church that is there as well, and she kind of goes into a big hug with them. But the venue itself is incredibly impressive because it is a Freudian tradition to have basically as many flowers as you can muster present within the ceremony itself. And the druid Aramil and Corey the Dryad, who have become close friends following the tussle up by the moon, work together to create sort of a crazy flower display for this royal wedding. I don't know if I don't think we have time or need to play through all of it, but the ceremony is lovely. The participants are led up to the front by Zant and by Bree, blindfolded. There are sort of, vows and things which the priests of Asanahen's church and of Pelor's church lead the two parties through.
I'm imagining a lot of nobles like yawning in the aisles and their plus ones just like nudging them awake.
Yep. Thaddeus's family is all in the front row. Gavin has been very sort of dejected and isolating. He kind of isolated himself within his father's study in the past year, but he seems to have brightened up a little bit by this point. Even he seems to be enjoying the festivities. Astrid is, of course, there with her husband.
I'm sorry, I'm also imagining like a boggle in the front row with like a bow tie. Gavin's boggle.
There's no boggles there, but Byakko definitely has a bow tie.
Of course he does.
Yeah.
I would be upset if he didn't.
Yes.
Once the vows are exchanged, the blindfolds are removed, and that's the moment where the objector is meant to stand up and challenge the guest of honor on the bride's side.
Well, I am not smart enough to come up with a great roast right off the top of my head without former preparation, but let's just say that the subjects of my jokes are about Dawn wearing the pants in the relationship, basically. Her being like the big tough guy having to protect her husband and how she's going to rule the country and be badass, and Thaddeus is just going to sit behind sewing doilies and all that kind of thing. That's the subject of my jokes.
Wait, I have an important question.
Yeah.
Yes.
Does Harmony work her knowledge of Thomas Moongleam into this roast?
That's right, because I do. Yeah. I'll talk about you sitting at home writing fan fiction and like reading your like little silly little romance novels, but I'm not going to like out you.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not going to out you, but I'm going to like hint at you that very strongly.
When you say that he's going to write fan fiction and stuff, Gloriana Hartwood stands up in the audience and says, "Well, I'd like to read some of that."
It's terrible, trust me.
I'm sure it is. And then she sits back down.
It's that kind of thing. Yeah, so you're not sitting at home knitting doilies or whatever. You're sitting at home writing fan fiction and that kind of thing.
How does Thaddeus react to this?
Thaddeus is like, especially when she gets to the writing part, he's like crimson red.
And at the
he's always been like a really pale guy. I don't know if any of you have seen him blush this hard before, but yeah.
Then my work here is accomplished.
And at the appointed time in your your roast, the duel commences, and you're firing off your wild magic. Bree has her guns firing blanks. It is a loud and colorful display.
I'm changing her into animals. randomly.
In the
Yeah.
end, what is the manner in which Bree ends up defeating you?
Let's say she closes the distance to me and grabs one of my hands to keep me from casting a spell, and she sticks the gun right here and says something badass, which you can come up with. And I'll just fall back super dramatically as her gun goes off.
I can't think of what she would say, but it is super badass.
It's super badass.
And then you kind of have to slink off, but you have a pointed
Something
chair
like,
that is-
what if she says something like, his fan fiction's actually amazing?
Yes.
Yeah. There it is.
And then she fires the gun, and you have
And
to
I
be
fall.
kind of like,
Don might wear the pants, but his fanfic is
Byakko
actually
has to
good.
kind of like pull you back
Yeah.
down the aisle.
Yeah.
And then
Draped over
you're able to
Byakko.
go back to your chair of honor. And with
That's
that,
great.
Dawn and Thaddeus are married.
Thaddeus is it at this point or is it later that Thaddeus's name changes?
It's later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a reception with lots of booze?
That's tonight.
Yeah, we didn't talk much about the reception. Nick and I didn't, but I assume it's just a big party with lots of dancing and
Because
Good
I'm
times
basically
had by
going to
all.
get super drunk and tell anybody who will listen that I'm the reason they're together. And I'll be like, I'll tell them the story about when I drugged them with the filter of love and that they
pretty
had
much
no
everyone
idea.
tells you shouldn't be proud of that.
I'll be like, no, it's great. It's great. They were pining after each other forever, and I just finally pushed them over the edge.
Glad it worked out in the end, but they all seem really uncomfortable.
And I'm so drunk that like I might be making this shit up. No one knows.
Yeah. Does anyone else have anything they want to do at the wedding or the reception, or should we move along?
The only thing that Zane would do is to play on Harmony's drunkenness to get her attention, and like I think maybe he would, maybe he wouldn't tell Mara ahead of time, but he would pull his whip out, and he
Oh,
would
no.
like whip Mara and like bring her close, and like catch her and like bring her into a dip during the dance and stuff like that.
It's canon.
You guys are good sports.
Just so, yeah, exactly. Just so,
So
like,
she has
to make sure Harmony's paying attention.
And then Harmony.
Okay,
just
Responsible for that too.
Yeah.
okay. So Mara will bring out Pinky then, and whisper to go say goodbye to Thaddeus.
To Pinky?
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, Pinky would, at some point in the festivities, kind of begin creeping up the tablecloth next to Thaddeus and appear on the table next to you. Food, 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 food.
Goodbye, goodbye.
And it leaves droppings for him to remember.
Yeah.
Pinky bye. In his pocket. Yeah.
Sure does.
That's it.
Nick looks so
Boy, good
uncomfortable.
boy.
Okay, moving
See,
along.
I don't know why you didn't want to kill Pinky this whole time. Pinky's the real
I mean, I
villain.
sort of did. I think he wouldn't have come back.
Pinky's almost dead.
What?
Yeah, Pinky looks real bad.
Poor little guy.
Also, was I able to bring Eli as my +1?
Oh yeah, of course. Because
Okay.
Eli is friends with Dawn as well, and he
Yeah, that's
would have
right.
been on
Because we had
Thaddeus's
that,
guest list. I hope.
that whole adventure.
If he wasn't on Thaddeus's guest list, he'd be very sad.
That's true. That's true. Then I guess maybe the next day when I'm super hungover or whatever, and we're riding the train back to Redwater, I just want to say to him, I don't get weddings.
No, I mean I get it. It's a celebration of what two people build together.
Yeah, but like, do you really need all of the like pomp and circumstance? Like, why can't the love between you just be enough?
I don't think you need it, but I don't know. You found something special in a crazy world, and it's worth commemorating.
So that's the kind of thing you want to do one day when you're married to someone.
He turns purple. No, not necessarily. I wouldn't say no to it, but you know, I don't have my mind set on one thing or another.
We don't really have that kind of a tradition in my tribe.
Yeah.
Just kind of people to get together and then that's it. You know? It's weird.
I mean, that's nice in its own way.
And that's just the kind of awkward conversation we have on the train ride back.
Yeah.
Your sober up conversation.
You sort of get from Eli that like throughout the conversation, you sort of get that the reason he isn't like, I absolutely need a big wedding is because he doesn't really have family to attend it. And it's definitely a family affair. And so he's not really hung up on the idea, but you know, he wouldn't say no to it if it was something that someone special in the future wanted.
Good to know.
And with that, the cycle of years begins to turn again. What happens in the next 5 years or so?
Someone else can go first this time.
I think you might be the only one actually.
Oh, am I the only one that?
There's one from me. Zant, I think, would probably be the most aware of this.
Okay.
Because of your interest in that new planet. A organization is founded in the Stratian Empire, that continent across the seas from Freydin, called the Stratos Technology and Aerospace Research, or STAR for short. And its whole purpose is to kind of study that planet that was discovered, and you know, other potential things that might be within the nearby space surrounding the planet of Alen'dal, as well as you know, research into, you know, various methods of flight and things like that. So they end up working kind of in close partnership with Thimblefoot Enterprises. Those sort of like flying blimps, which were developed by the shoot, why can't I remember the name of the organization? Mercer and Melissa Nightclaws. The East Freight and Mercantile Corporation. Thimblefoot soon replicates those designs, and Star is very interested in those designs as well for their capability of flight. And so Thimblefoot begins to work kind of in close partnership with this organization. So that happens in the world in the next 5 years. Zach, you were going to say something about Zant?
Yeah, that what I sent you. I'm not sure if that's like a 5-year thing or whatnot.
It would probably start in the 5 years. I don't think you'd accomplish your goal.
No, I don't think so either. But we can
remind me what it was. I don't have the message open.
So the thing that Zant would try and do in the near future, 5 years plus probably, and this would carry on, would be that he would rebuild his nation further, because after it's, you know, been blocked by that fog, and you know, it's sort of a lot of lives were lost, and it was kind of in chaos, and he just basically only started. Yeah, go ahead.
The other thing about the Elderhaven Reaches is that there's no real central government. There used to be a dynasty that ruled over the entire set of islands, but that dynasty fell a long time ago, and since then it has been kind of disparate governments, even on like as small a scale as like village to village.
Yeah.
So depending on how widely you want to try and rebuild an infrastructure within the Elderhaven Reaches.
Yeah, it would be basically like, I mean, I think doing what he's done so far, with the help of his friends and everybody, of like kind of building sort of a community to help the rebuild, and also like with like the Warforged rights and, you know, all those accommodations, he would probably start building sort of from the ground up and trying to connect all the islands back together and kind of start trying to get everyone working together again in like a government centralized.
Okay.
I wonder.
So from basically centered in the island of Kanya, which is where your village is, you just begin trying to reconnect with the people of the land.
Yeah.
Keeping a focus on reintegrating Warforged and things like that.
Yeah, Warforged, and also just some of the Elderhaven Reaches traditions and stuff like that, and trying to like just sort of nourish it back into health and put life back into it and interest, and trade lines, all those things, all the necessary things to have sort of a new invigorating, what's the word, like, I don't know,
Society
healthy
or
society. Yeah.
yeah.
Also, I guess with the star coming together, would Warforged be a good, like, I don't know, astronaut type person?
potentially.
Because I think that part of the other thing is that with all the Warforged, needing accommodations and things, and being treated as people, just like another race, so to speak. Maybe he would try and be a part of that. And
Oh yeah,
also
try and get some connections into Star yourself.
Yeah, because also one of the other things that he wanted to do, and this is 5+ years, is he might also enter in some like business ventures to try and help improve Warforged's life and stuff like that, and maybe become sort of a technologist in some of those endeavors as well. And so I don't know if he's able to or could be part of those endeavors, but
Yeah, I mean, I think Zant has definitely acquired a knowledge of mechanics and things like that throughout the journey. So I think that's absolutely possible.
yeah,
So you definitely want to accomplish all of these things within 5
No.
years. You can
It'd be
begin laying
ongoing.
groundwork to sort of
Yeah.
establish a better, government and society, starting with Kanya and trying to spread out across the other islands of the Elderhaven Reaches. Also, kind of reaching out to Star and lending your expertise where you can. And then kind of, delving into your own research into mechanics and technology and things like that. So
Yeah.
I'll just make a quick note of that.
But yeah, just starting the building blocks of those things, I think, is what he would try and put the groundwork forward for in those 5 years. Yeah, I think that's what his focus would be on. Hi, Blitz. Are you part of that too? Blitz Yako?
The last thing I have on my list for the next 5 years is from Harmony.
Yeah, so probably the giant wedding and the whole ceremony, and then talking to Eli about family and all that has got Harmony thinking about her tribe. And she kind of wrestles with it for a while because she feels like she doesn't really belong there anymore. But she also feels a little bit of a duty to do right by them or to shepherd them, because that was going to be her role before, shit happened. So I think she's going to probably ask for Eli's help and Radiance's help to find them.
Radiance is with them.
Yeah, so I probably would, use my ruby to try and contact her and figure out where they are and go to them.
When you track them down, it seems that the tribe is currently near Marble Cleft Landing, but as you know, they move around quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But you're familiar enough with Marble Cleft Landing that you could teleport there pretty quickly. And
Yeah.
when you do, you find that the tribe is currently being led by Tenacity's mother, whose name is Temerity. And the tribe does seem to be in pretty good health overall. Like everyone who sees you greets you and welcomes you back in as if you hadn't ever left. Like you're being welcomed back into the family. There's no
After
tension or
5+
anything like
years,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean at this point probably like 8 to 10 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, they do seem to be in pretty good hands with Temerity and Tenacity. Obviously, Radiance is thrilled to see you again, gives you a big hug.
And I'll definitely apologize because I don't think I've seen Tenacity since I fucked up all those years ago. So I'll
Dang Allosaurus. That started everything. The start of our campaign was that thing.
Yep. So, I'll apologize in my own kind of shy way. But I basically want to sit down with Temerity then and try to convince her, basically tell her about what I did in the Hells and how I released my bloodline from Asmodeus's control, and how like the reason that we were nomadic in the first place was to keep ourselves safe, but there's nothing that we need to be running from anymore. And try to convince her to take the tribe to a town or a city somewhere and try to integrate into society, because there's no reason to have to keep roughing it out in the wild. And the world's incredible, and people are interesting and varied, and there's so much more out there to learn and to see and experience.
Yeah. I think you don't even need to roll for it. You give a persuasive speech, and Temerity seems to be a very reasonable person. You probably didn't know her super well before. She obviously had some issues with your mother, but she kind of talks with you evenly and fairly, and as if the two of you are on the same level. And yeah, she expresses interest in your idea for the future shape of tiefling culture within the continent of Freydin.
Yeah,
and also, sorry, as you're telling your story of your adventures in the Hells, Temerity brings in a chronicler who notes down all the stories you have to tell, so that they can be passed down in the tribe.
I'm also going to ask about what she knows about our history, and if she knows anything about artistry and ruin.
She doesn't seem to know really anything about that. Like the first she heard about it was when you were telling your story. As with when you were growing up, it seems that most people only know the story of your group starting with the exodus from hell, really. And beyond that, not much is told of the time within hell itself, other than that it was horrible.
Okay. Great. So yeah, I'll give her some suggestions for cities that they could go to. Ravenmoor or Redwater. I'm not going to suggest the capital because I think that would be way overwhelming, but I might send them to Ravenmoor to start.
Sure. Yeah, I think they decide to do like a tour of a couple cities and try and pick out one that the tribe likes, before deciding to settle in one place, and I'll decide to start with Ravenmoor.
Yeah, and I'll tell Radiance, like, hit me up if you need someone to help negotiate, because I know a lot of people in Ravenmoor, and I could help you guys get settled. I could call in a couple favors for you if I need to, kind of thing.
Yeah. Everyone seems very grateful for that and all of the help that you're able to potentially provide them.
Yeah.
And yeah, they set off in the direction of Ravenmoor.
Yeah.
Potentially to be no longer nomads in the future.
I really like how the Hell Adventure really closed the loop completely for Harmony's tribe's story too. I think that's really cool.
Yeah. So it's not quite how I thought that I was going to end up helping them when I started this journey, but this is good. Yeah, so over the course of the next 5 years or whatever, I'll help them get established, and I'll help them kind of figure out how to live here with other people and how to make a living, that kind of thing.
And they tour several cities, including Redwater, Marble Cleft Landing, West Shore. And I think they kind of end up liking Ravenmoor. So I think that seems like a good, or maybe even maybe Northwood, actually.
Yeah, maybe both.
In Northwood.
They could spread out a little bit.
Yeah.
I'll ask for Alan's help too while I'm there. Help them, learn the ropes, whatever.
Okay. And with that, again, the seasons begin to turn quickly, and the group of you don't see each other nearly as often as you may like. But some things still happen within sort of the next 15 years. So let's talk about that.
Wait, was there something that you had for the 5-year thing?
The thing I had for the 5-year was the founding of
Star. That was that. Okay, I see.
Yep. see. I have something that specifically happens 12 years in, so we'll get to that in a bit. I have something that happens at 15 years. And then I have something from Harmony and something from Thaddeus.
Why
That's sort
doesn't
of like-
Thaddeus go? It's been a while.
Yeah, I had a thing that was like just at some unknown point in the future.
Yeah, and I thought this was the place where it would probably happen.
Okay.
Due to the preparations for the other thing
Mhm.
that are in order.
Yeah. So Thaddeus has been busy with a lot of stuff, but also he's been kind of at least keeping an eye on Gavin this whole time. How has Gavin seemed for the last decade or so?
Yeah, so like I said, the first year Gavin kind of stayed within his father's, or I guess, yeah, it's still his father, never mind. Yeah, his father's study. He kind of keeps there to himself in isolation a little bit. And when you did visit him, you gathered that he was looking for a way to try and find his mother, Valerie. But around sort of a year, he seems to give up on that after having almost little to no luck coming up with any leads on where she might be or if she might even be alive still. And that's when he starts to kind of turn around and actually he kind of throws himself into his work. And you begin to see a lot of the best traits of your father appearing in him. You know, that sort of like diligent hard worker, studious intelligence, intuitive politician, those sorts of things. And he begins to apply them in a better direction, very much under your guidance. I think Thaddeus would probably sheepishly at first, but then more openly over the course of the next 10 years starts to come to Thaddeus for advice on things. It looks at first like it's very reluctant. He doesn't want to do it, but the more and more he begins to kind of look to you as a source of guidance and a person he can bounce ideas off of, the more and more he begins to be open about doing that sort of thing.
Okay.
So he generally tends to trend positively over the next decade.
That's good. Yeah, I imagine like we probably don't see each other too much because he lives in the barony, and I live on like the family estate in Farendel.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, he does still have to come to the capital for, you know, noble duties that he has to fulfill there from time to time. So maybe once or twice a year you see each other.
Are there
and
patter of little feet?
not on Gavin's side, not just yet.
No, I meant for Thaddy.
Oh,
Oh, we hadn't talked about that actually. I don't know the answer to that question. In the next 12 years, I would assume yes.
there might be a little. I guess Thaddeus's dark hair would probably be the dominant trait. A little dark-haired child running around the halls of Hammerlock Manor, and I think Muriel might come back to the city much more often now that there is a grandchild in the picture.
Yeah.
Kay comes back and says, "What?"
Yeah.
My headphones cut out because I got too far away, so I missed most of that. So, wow.
Yeah. Melissa asked, "Is there the pitter patter little feet?" And I was like, I hadn't actually thought about that, but in 12 years, probably, yeah, there is.
Yeah.
So
And so I
Antiheroes will
think-
teach all sorts of wonderful things.
Oh yeah. Whenever you come to visit, Grandma Muriel keeps a close eye on you to make sure you're not teaching the little Babber anything terribly untoward. But you're sneaky enough that you manage to do it anyways, I think.
I think Zant would always try and bring things from his home nation for the little one. Give him a bunch of little children's gifts and stuff like that from Elderhaven Reaches.
But yeah, as far as your relationship with Gavin goes, I think that though you don't see each other very often, he probably writes you letters. And sometimes those letters are more full of content than others, but yeah, it seems like he's found respect for you and has come to sort of value your input on things.
Did he ever? He never found out what happened to Valerie, did he?
Nope.
Okay. Yeah, and I don't think Thaddeus really helps him or nudges him at all in that direction.
And he doesn't
like,
come and ask you for help either
Yeah.
about that.
I'm like pretty content to let that whole thing lie because Valerie was kind of a bad influence on him. All right.
Okay. So you don't want to sit down with the two people?
No,
you
I
had
think
mentioned?
the way you've discussed it, I don't think we need that scene.
Okay. Well, in that case, something does transpire on its own with one of those figures, which is that Runa continues to be sort of like the one who is able to get under Gavin's skin. And the two of them become really good friends, though she definitely is always like he's the butt of all of her jokes. And this continues for many years, but at some point, Runa does move in to the Hammerlock Baronry and end up living with Gavin there.
Nice.
Yep. So that happens. Let me just make a note. And then the other thing that I have a note of is from Harmony, your sort of long-term goal.
Yeah, so over the course of helping my tribe get settled and kind of find out how they fit into society and kind of find occupations for them or whatever, I start thinking about what am I going to do now? 'Cause I'm not adventuring anymore, and that was kind of my whole life. What am I even good at? What do I even like doing? And I decide on a whim that I want to start building a tower in Redwater for myself. And the first floor of that tower is going to be a magic item shop that I'm going to run in Redwater. And I'm going to ask for Cial's help to get started. Some tips and tricks.
Cial definitely like gives you the whole spiel of like, now why would I help a competitor get started on a magic item shop? And but eventually reluctantly comes around and decides to help you get up and running.
We all know that you're going to be more popular anyway.
Cial ends up closing their Northwood branch as a result, though. Figuring it's just too much competition in the area. There's no reason to stick around there.
I offer to sell some of their goods at my place and give her them.
Now you're talking.
Yeah. Split the
now,
profits.
if this can be an arrangement that goes both ways, then I'm more than happy to participate.
Yeah, we can see what happens.
And as you know, I have a network of colleagues in Sigil and beyond that can be very helpful. So you scratch my back, and I'm happy to help you out as well.
I think that could be arranged. Yeah, so start getting that all set up.
Is it going to have a title?
Yeah, what's it called?
Okay,
didn't think about that.
Random name generator time.
No, I didn't think about that, but I think that it would probably be something like Harmony's Wild Magics.
Cute.
I like that.
Yeah. Magics with the CK at the end. CKS Magics.
Rainbow magic.
But it's basically going to, like, the hours of operation are going to be like super irregular because Harmony doesn't like to be on a schedule, and she goes off for like weeks at a time because she has that like adventure bug. So she'll like, and most of it is like, most of the stuff she sells is by appointment or by request. So it's like someone has a problem or has something they want, and so she'll like make it but then like you can't just swing by the shop and see what she has for sale because she's
Or-
probably more than likely not there.
Or maybe she employs some of those fox familiars that Seal has, or something similar, something more harmony.
Nah,
No,
nah, because
she just wants to leave it
that's still too.
too much.
You know,
Okay.
she doesn't want to be tied down by like having employees. You know,
All
she's
right,
like,
okay.
like she gets a reputation, I think, in Redwater for
I imagine that the people that go visit and they don't know the schedule, like Eli has to apologize for Harmony like all the time,
It's a
and he's
frequent
like, "I'm
occurrence.
sorry, I'm so sorry, I don't know where she is. She said she'd be back yesterday."
The other thing that will happen frequently is Harmony will wake up in the morning and Eli will be like, "Okay, I'm gonna go, attend to my priest duties. You gonna open the shop today?" And Harmony will be like, "Nah, I'm too tired." And
I don't feel like it.
Eli will give her a hard look on those
And
days.
she'll be like, fine, fine, I'm going. That happens
"There
a
you go.
lot.
That's the ticket."
That happens
That's
a
funny.
lot. Yeah, and I think Harmony's, I think at one point probably, because it's pretty clear that she and Eli are together. And I don't know how explicit their conversations get because they're so awkward around each other.
I'm sure eventually the two of you talk about it.
But I feel like at some point, and it doesn't have to be 15 years later, but some point in that window, Harmony will just look at him and be like, "So are we like what? Partners? Are we? I mean, you don't want to get married, do you? Can we just like be good?"
Yeah, and he looks you in the eyes and says, "We are very good.
Okay.
We don't have to do anything you don't want to do. I'm happy."
Just, let's just pretend that we already did it. We could tell grand stories about this secret like ceremony that we had that was just us. Ooh, what if we did it in the Feywild?
Solution.
He gives you a smile and says, "Sure, we'll tell everyone whatever you like."
Just that kind of thing. She doesn't want to actually do it.
I'm very happy the way things are. I don't think anything needs to change.
I want to imagine that like she and Eli like never bothered to get this story straight, and it changes anytime.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
every time someone
Yeah.
asks, it's something different.
Every time someone asks, Eli looks to Harmony to come up with a story.
She will, and it'll be different every time because that's kind of the fun of it,
Yeah,
I'd like to
one time
imagine. Okay.
you got married on like a pirate ship during an epic battle at sea during a thunderstorm.
Yep.
One time it
Yep.
was in the hells itself.
I like to imagine that
On the moon.
sometimes when everyone gets together, we come to visit. We try the one part of the like a dinner or something thing is that we share like the rumor mill of what's new with Harmony Eli's latest marriage story and what is it this time. We try and find the best one for that dinner or something like that, or maybe just come up with new ones that Harmony can tell people.
Yep.
I imagine Mara will pull Harmony with her on various little intrigues that come up over the years.
Oh yeah, Harmony is always game. She's always game.
Do you spend some time taking Delphine up on her offer to explore the sort of underwater realms?
Oh, sure. I would think that would be like a once a year regular thing.
Yeah.
That
You
we
and
explore.
Delphine discover a
different
lot
things.
of deep places of the ocean and end up meeting various ocean creatures that no one has seen in thousands of years and having narrow escapes from them, things like that.
Sounds good.
And she
So-
takes you to all of like the merfolk cities, and some of them are quite grand and impressive. They're just these vast underwater cities of thousands of merfolk.
So I imagine her ship is all decked out with cool things that she's earned or found.
It better
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
Cool.
The Drowning Kiss gains a reputation as the strangest pirate ship on the seas of the world.
Yeah, cool.
And then 12 years later, the group of you receive invitations to another event. These ones come by way of royal messengers. And they inform you that the king and queen of Freydin, in their old age, are succeeding the title to their daughter, Princess Dawn Arendora, and her husband, Sir Thaddeus Hammerlock, and there's to be a coronation. and you are all invited as guests of honor.
Party.
This ceremony does not happen at dawn.
Can I make a special magic item as a gift for Dawn?
Sure. What do you want to make?
Mm.
Which one of my
Oh.
sister's things do you make it out of?
Yeah, there you go. That's it.
No, I think maybe it'll be a necklace that has a sun on it, that has the power of Sunbeam, that it allows her to cast Sunbeam like I can, like once a day or something.
And a small chance of wild magic.
Yes, because it wouldn't be any fun if it wasn't.
Yeah, you can absolutely make that and bring it as a gift. The group of you find yourselves again in the capital city of Farandel, and you begin to learn about coronations and the things that go into them. There are parades, festivals, and tournaments kind of held throughout the entire month leading up to the coronation. And both the royals, the new royals and the old royals are expected to participate as much as they are able in all of those. So it's a very busy month for Thaddeus and Dawn, and you don't see them terribly often, but there's lots of fun for the group of you to have during
How many
these.
tournaments do we win?
Really, I mean, probably as many as you enter.
Yes, we enter.
Ooh, can I also bring some magic items for Thaddeus' kids?
Yeah, sure. Just kind
And
of
they're
like
just gonna
little
be like
baubles.
the most obnoxious, like things that like cast what is that stink cloud spell?
Oh yeah, Stinking Cloud.
Yeah.
That's a dangerous spell though, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Something like that, but not on
No,
a
Stinking
dangerous
Cloud
level.
isn't bad.
Stinking
You're
Cloud
thinking-
isn't that bad.
No, nothing that does damage. I think isn't Stinking Cloud just like a con save or
I
you're
think it
like
just
retching?
poisons, yeah, or something like that.
Yeah.
But like basically things that will cast a fog of fart. Like things that would really annoy Thaddeus to
Yeah.
find his kids playing with.
How many kids does Thaddeus have?
12 years later, probably like 3.
Oh, 3 kids. Okay.
I'm gonna come up with names for him in a minute.
You're
Yeah, I am-
welcome.
While y'all are having your adventures, I'm updating Thaddeus' World Anvil page. His title's already on there. The Grand Arbiter.
Great.
Gonna
Very
add his
good.
kids next.
When it comes to the actual ceremony itself, it's held outside the city because the city itself is kind of a cramped space, and they want to make sure there's space for everyone because a lot of people are invited to this event. In addition to guests of honor like you, there are heads of state from other nations. There are heads of various religious clergies, prominent noble figures from throughout Freydin, as well as the event being open to the general public. So people come from all across the country to attend in public attendance. The ceremony itself is kind of a long and lengthy thing. But one of the things that is a staple of the ceremony is the new royals have to throw away their family names. Dawn, being a royal incumbent, I suppose, has already done this. She doesn't have a family name. But Thaddeus is expected to throw away the Hammerlock title at this event. And the reason is, this is all kind of explained during the ceremony, but the reason is the people of the... It's in hopes that the people of the country of Freydin will be loyal to the country itself and not to any set like of specific royal families, such that if those royal families abused their power, there wouldn't be, I mean, in theory, there wouldn't be people who are specifically loyal to that family line, you know, potentially making it easier to replace them if they ever failed to live up to their oaths, which is another major part of the ceremony. You are asked to swear numerous oaths, but before we do that, Nick, do you want to reveal Thaddeus's new name?
Oh yeah, he now goes by Thaddeus Constantine.
Yep.
Out of memory of his old captain.
Not
Fossil soul.
Thaddeus Moongleam.
No. Considered it for a second, but he was like, no, not gonna give that game away.
So yeah, he throws away the name of Hammerlock and takes on the second first name Constantine and becomes known as King Thaddeus Constantine.
Sweet.
Badass.
At the end of the ceremony, when all of the oaths of loyalty and service to the nation itself have been sworn, crowns are placed on the heads of the new rulers after being removed from the heads of the old rulers. And it is announced to all in attendance that the rulers henceforth of the kingdom of Freydin shall be Queen Dawn Arendora and King Thaddeus Constantine.
Yay.
Well, Harmony, we always knew him to be a royal pain before. He's just
And that
fulfilling his
hasn't changed.
destiny. It's official. It's canon.
It's canon.
And now I have to ask, since we're already
Uh,
at time, you guys are okay going just a little bit longer? We have a few more bullet points to
Sure.
get through.
Yeah, I think we all.
It's our last
Does-
episode. We can go longer.
Does Thomas Moongleam create any more hit novels in this time period?
Man, I wondered about that.
It's a busy
think he
time,
ch-
but you gain a lot of inspiration.
I think he tried to I know this is kind of going back in an earlier period of this, but I think he tried to squeeze one out in the year before he got married to Dawn, because he figured, like, after I get married to a royal, this probably isn't going to be okay.
Or it'll be more okay.
Yeah. Other than that, the last thing that happens within sort of the next 15 years is with Mara. As you are one day sailing the Drowning Kiss across the open seas, the wind in your purple pantaloons,
That's the sound of the wind.
you hear a sound from below decks.
Okay.
And as you go to investigate it, you realize that it is the sound of a baby crying.
Oh boy.
I forgot about that.
I
I
didn't. I've been
didn't.
waiting
I
for
was
this
just
whole
worried
session.
about it. Oh, I know.
By the way, does it still have a doorway for Ciel to get through?
Yeah, but
In the
it's
kitchen?
only
In the
it's only
galley?
sometimes active because that portal was a cyclical portal.
Okay. A baby crying. Okay, so I will go down and check it out.
Okay. You find amongst the cargo of the ship a little bright crimson-skinned tiefling boy, swaddled in a soft silk black cloth. And as soon as you pick him up, he stops crying.
Aww. Where did you come from, little guy?
And as you kind of investigate the silk cloth that he is in, you find a little bit of a little note on a black card, written
Oh
with,
yeah.
with red
Yeah,
pen,
now you remember.
red crimson pen that says, "The time to fulfill our bargain has come." Except it says it like this: "The time to fulfill our bargain has
Of
come."
course it does. It's a voiced message.
Magic mouth.
Magic mouth.
Couldn't get through one more
And then
episode
it's
without
just-
doing the voice.
Nope. It's just signed with a very curly and cursive A, like a big capital A.
Okay. Well, Mara will look at it, not being very good with babies, and try to think of a name for this little tiefling baby. Let's see, what's a good name for a scarlet tiefling? Call him.
All the tieflings you know have names that are like qualities.
So I'm trying to think of one.
However, the thing you do know about tiefling culture, as Harmony explained it, is that the parents give the child a true name, which only a few people know, and then the tiefling later picks their own quality gnome.
Okay. How much later?
When they're able to consciously, decide what they
And
want
they're
the gnome
like
to be.
of age.
Oh, I see. Okay. So it's just going to be a little bundle of joy. Did you say it was a boy? Oh, yeah, boy.
Mhm.
All right. Well, come on up. We'll show you the ropes.
And as you now think back on it, the deal was struck 15 years ago, so it kind of comes flooding back to you now. What you were supposed to do was sail to Adeus, and you would be presented with someone to deliver the baby to.
Okay.
That's right. I was trying to remember if she was supposed to raise it or deliver it.
I know. I was thinking that too. If I had to have it for a little while. All right. So let's set a course.
Okay. It's a long sail to Adeus, because I think probably Mara spends most of her time in the oceans over by the Elderhaven Reaches and such.
I don't know
But-
why.
Yeah, who knows?
Because it's canon.
And I mean, Genbu's
No,
around there.
there's not much over there.
That's where
Nothing
Delphine hangs
important.
out. But you make your way to a port city in Adeus, and no one immediately presents themselves to claim the boy, but various signs begin to sort of point you inward. So you have to end up carrying the boy over land a few cities over before someone you recognize spots you and you spot them. You see the red-haired form of a priest of Asmodeus who you met on Kamekame Island, who at the time had kind of budding tiefling horns despite being a human. Those horns have now grown out into very wicked pronged horns. And you end up spotting him, and he spots you, and he motions you over and just says, and you would recall this priest was named Theodoric Sharpsteel. He motions you over and just says, "I'm to take the boy from you now. The burden to raise him is now mine and the church's."
Okay.
You hand over the boy?
I do.
Okay.
I have to.
Yep. And as you do, you hear there's like a sulfurous kind of smell kind of drifts across the breeze in your direction, and you just hear on the wind the soft sound of Asmodeus's voice as he says, "Well done. I now release you from our bargain. May you never speak of it to anyone else, lest your soul be mine."
Being that I forgot that I made the bargain, and might not be too hard not to talk about this.
And you see Theodoric Sharpsteel walking away with the bundle in hands. And that's probably the last you see of the two of them. The wheel of time continues to spin. And only really a few more things happen as the group of you begin to settle into the various endeavors of the rest of your days. But let's talk about sort of the next 25 years to the rest of your lives. Does anyone have really anything that comes up then?
I think that I don't think Thaddeus sees the rest of the group a lot unless they pay him social call specifically. If he has adventures, it's in his role as Grand Arbiter, and he brings along other people who are kind of more in his circles that he moves in now. Clerics of his new temple, or royal soldiers or whatnot. And it's all work that's defending the kingdom from potential threats.
That was a question I did have for this portion, is how much do the rest of you see each other, and at what sort of occasions?
He might see Zant. I don't know how much. He probably Thaddeus still keeps up every now and then his duties of going as ambassador to the Elder Haven Reaches, and he'll see Zant, who is still trying to, I guess, build up the a society out there.
Yeah, I think Zant would try and find reasons to keep ties with people, and like visit Thaddeus and stuff, and maybe also trying to use him as a sounding board here and there for his nation's, struggles to rebuild and stuff like that. And
yeah, but I think that those visits stop happening on the Drowning Kiss because we have like a Royal Navy and we have like a fleet. And I'm expected to use those, and it would not be okay for the king to sail across on a pirate ship, even if it is captained by his old friend. So I don't know how much he ever sees Mara again after that.
I think you would see Mara on a regular basis, because I think Mara would have convinced you to keep writing and be your agent. So I could take the books back to that little bookshop you love and have them printed up and sold.
Maybe so.
The
Yeah.
Was that the little cafe run by
Yeah.
Selena?
Mm-hmm.
In
Can
West-
I make 3 more sending jewels of different colors and give them to each of the other 3 so that we can keep in touch?
I don't see why not.
that'd be sweet.
Yeah, and they're gonna be like it'll be a sapphire for Thaddeus, and let's see, an amethyst for Mara, and an emerald for Zant.
Okay. I
And
also would want to visit Harmony's tower and see what that's all about.
It's a very modest tower.
I'm sure it is. Yeah.
It doesn't. No,
you're
it's not
amulet-
like
At
maybe
least 15 stories.
Yeah.
No, it's probably like 4 or 5.
Yeah. Every time you express what you're gonna do with your jewelry, I expect the same to show in this tower as well.
I
No.
think like if Thaddeus ever makes it out to Redwater and the tower, which I'm sure he does because it's part of his kingdom now.
It's also not that long of a trip by train.
It's true. I think the first time he goes out to see the tower, he's like, Harmony's wild magics. People, you have customers? People want wild magic? They pay for that?
I mean, they just think it means fun and exciting. You know, I didn't call it like Harmony's Crafts of Chaos. That's what I wanted to call it, but Eli told me it probably wasn't a great idea.
Eli has a good head on his shoulders.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And when you later tell Thaddeus or tell Eli that Thaddeus said he has a good head on his shoulders, Eli faints.
We'll get that. Yeah. Yeah, so I think I'll probably be using my Ruby of Sending to be sending messages every once in a while to you guys randomly. Just to be like, hey, what are you up to? You haven't come by the shop in a while, kind of thing. Yeah. I also think I'd probably be making regular trips to Alen'dal because I want to research devils, specifically Asmodeus, and see if I can find any trace of artistry's name anywhere in like maybe Helia's library or...
Do you want to roll a research check for each of those, I suppose?
Okay.
Research check. Yeah, I'm not sure really what to have you attribute to this.
Like investigation.
Could be the same as what we used for our, long-term research for hags.
Yeah, I don't want to pull it up right now.
Remember what we did
for that. So let's just do investigation. I think that
Okay.
makes sense. You can take advantage on both of these, I think, because it is a long-term endeavor.
Well, that was pretty good. Yeah, so that was a 19 for the first one.
The first one being in research into Asmodeus.
Yes.
Okay.
And the second one was a 17.
With the 19, your time, and this represents a long time of research, trying to
Like over the course of even her entire life, this is something she's just.
And this requires you to delve into both like arcane and religious manuscripts simultaneously, some of which are quite over your head and take years of poring over for you to even like make heads or tails of them. Probably with assistance from people like Cial and Eli.
Mm-hmm.
And you learn a little bit about how Asmodeus came to be the being that he is. Apparently, at one time, he was just merely a powerful angel in the service of a god who no longer exists. That god at one point grew displeased with Asmodeus. And in an effort to kind of like earn that god's trust again, Asmodeus plunged into the abyss itself. And when he came back out, he was thoroughly changed and had a scepter, the sort of walking cane that you saw, with a gem in it that had a shard of the like seed of evil that sits at the very bottom of the abyss, which doesn't really make sense because the abyss is supposed to be infinite. But the thing that generates the abyss itself, he had placed a shard of that into his rod. And he emerged from the from the abyss, and killed his former deity, taking on that god's immense power into himself. However, as sort of a last curse, his former deity, who throughout all of your research, there was no name for this deity, hurled Asmodeus down into what has become the Nine Hells. And Asmodeus broke through it layer by layer, basically. That was the force of the throw, until he landed in the deepest pit of Nessus, the bottom layer. And some texts say that he has never recovered from the wounds he sustained then, and that he constantly bleeds, and every drop of blood that falls from him creates a new pit fiend. Those are the sorts of things you learn about.
Any hint towards what his name as an angel was?
Nope.
That's worth asking.
And then the other one, looking for mentions of artistry and ruin. There's not really anything like that, which strikes you as odd. So you'd probably end up having to use your Ruby of Sending to communicate a little bit with Ruin, who, after years of pestering, might divulge a little bit of information, which is mostly that the deal that they made with Asmodeus was because they were dealing with a threat that most of the gods feared. A threat that was seeking to merge the chaotic jumble of the multiverse itself into a single reality, believing that true order was the proper state of the world, of the multiverse itself. Learning of the dangers in that, Ruin and Artistry took it upon themselves to stand against that threat, but very few, if any, deities stood with them, and they needed power to face their enemy, which is why they ended up turning to Asmodeus. The other thing Ruin kind of reveals is that he does not necessarily believe that Artistry is dead. And it's based on his knowledge of Asmodeus's character. He thinks that if Asmodeus had killed Artistry, someone who challenged his reign, that's something that Asmodeus probably would have flaunted, So he believes that Artistry is possibly still alive, and that Asmodeus is using her for something or needs her for something in the future. Those are the things you learn.
Very interesting. Interesting.
The other thing that happens is to Thaddeus, and it's several years later, probably like 25 or beyond, but a being appears in the castle, seemingly having sneaked past all of the guards, and kind of comes into actually, this would happen in the Temple of Cold Justice, actually. Maybe when you're there one day offering prayers. A being comes in, seemingly having gotten past all of your guards, and you sense their presence behind you while you're praying. And you turn and see a hooded figure there. And as you go to try and find out who the figure is, they pull back the hood, and you see very much, standing before you very much in mortal flesh, your deity Asanahen. And she just says, Thaddeus, my sisters and I need your help once again. And we'll resolve more on that second campaign.
Oh shoot! Ethan, you can't do this. But you did.
And beyond
dang.
that, unless the group of you have something else, time begins to turn on the lives of these heroes. Many accomplishments you've made throughout the years. Oh, do you have something?
Just a question. Did you decide, or are we allowed to know what the time frame is for campaign 2? Like
I think
how many
we'll do about 25 years after.
After the end of this campaign?
After
After
your
the
battle
Darkling
with Nasheen.
Okay.
So
Okay. So our these characters are still alive and doing these things. Okay.
Yeah.
I see.
I think that Harmony probably has a daughter at some point during the 25 years.
with like purple skin.
I mean,
guess, the combination
that's up
of
to
your
you.
blue skin and
Yeah. Purple skin would be lavender skin, maybe.
cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Eli is a very doting father. Assuming it's Eli. Maybe it's not.
No, it's definitely Eli. It's definitely Eli. And I think she would also have wild magic. So Harmony would do her best because it runs like it's passed from mother to daughter. So Harmony would basically tell her to cherish it. She's not going to do what her mom did to her and be like, you have to control it. She's like, nah, it's fine. These things happen, you know, and tell her to embrace it.
I'm not saying this is canon, but when we were talking about is Eli the father, and you're like, of course, it would be so funny if like one day Harmony came back from the shop, like 8 months pregnant. It was like, Eli, there was a magic accident at the shop today.
That would be really funny.
If that was on the wild magic table, I would die.
That's so funny.
That would be really funny.
Did she shrink or grow anymore?
I think probably she fluctuated throughout the years.
Yeah. She got younger than Eli. That would be really funny.
After you have your daughter, I do think after being absent for a long time, Valiance would occasionally come to see her granddaughter. She doesn't stay for very long, and she doesn't try to like step into your parenting or anything like that. She very much like leaves your daughter to you. But she wants to interact with it and get to know her granddaughter.
Could I, if I'm going to be working with Cial and, you know, patting each other's backs or whatever, can we kind of establish a door to Sigil? Or is that something that's like way too difficult to do?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Where's the closest door then? I wonder.
That's something you'd have to do a lot of exploring to try and find out. But
I feel like something we would have done if we're gonna. Anyway, I don't want to derail it too much.
Cial can make their way to Alen'dal quite easily.
Yeah.
And they have a network of teleportation circles, so maybe they would set one up within your tower.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea. Put a teleportation circle in the tower.
But with that, time spins on. The world is forever changed by the accomplishments of the group of you throughout the years. The Warforged were freed from their brainwashed captivity. The fog around the Elder Haven Reaches was lowered, and the country was allowed to sort of rejoin the world, as well as the spirits that are native there have begun to set foot elsewhere in the world. Dawn and Thaddeus obviously have begun to rule over Freydon, and Guardian's Rise has become a major city in Kanya and a seat of growing political power within the entire Reaches. The dread pirate Purple Pantaloons becomes a legend. Her and her absolutely bonkers ship, the Drowning Kiss. Any, you know, bad pirates on the seas who see this ship coming their direction are said to turn the other direction and run away before they come into conflict with Mara and her ship. And of course, there's the powerful sorcerer of Redwater, who establishes a magic shop and begins to raise a family with her close friend and partner, Eli. And last but not least, there is the hole in the center of the moon that watches over Alen'dal as a constant reminder of how the group of you rose to stop the endless, maddening darkness. And that's how we will close Campaign 1.
Yay! We did it.
I really wanted to have some time at the end to like talk about what we liked and what we didn't like, but there's no time for that. So I don't know, maybe we'll do a separate thing at some point.
An off-camera conversation.
Yeah. I thought it would
Yeah,
have been
sure.
fun to have on camera, but we can also have it off camera.
We could like a Q&A.
Yeah, I guess.
Oh yeah,
Like
that'd be
all the
cool, too.
questions we have about stuff that never got answered.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
And
Yeah, I mean,
people
we
who
can-
follow the show can write in questions too.
We can talk about it and see about doing something like that.
Sure.
I wanted to have time today to talk about it, but there was just too much to get through. However, I did check off everything on my list.
Nice.
Nice.
Great. Nice job.
Feels good. Feels
Thank
good.
you, all of you, for joining me tonight and throughout the 4.5-year campaign that this thing has become. I look forward to playing with all of you next week in Antiheroes in Exandria. And then again with your new level 1 characters in campaign 2 of the Alen'dal story.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big one. I'm very excited.
The world is very changed, and I'm very excited about it.
Who is that tiefling? Little
I
baby.
know.
Who is a little baby? I'm so nervous.
I'm
Why do
playing
I feel like Mara betrayed everybody?
You did.
I'm playing a very long game now.
Yeah.
Use that in the Q&A. Use that. He has to answer.
I don't have to answer well.
Nope. The
Dang
DM is allowed to say I can't answer
Use
that.
suggestion.
Mara, in the
Anyways.
meantime, might have figured out a way to put something with that tiefling, though, in the years that ensue.
All right. Yeah, you
We'll
can
see.
message me about that. We'll see. Yeah, so thank you also to anyone who watched this episode or the rest of this campaign. It's been an absolute delight for me. I hope that it has been for any viewers and for the group of you as well. And we'll be back next week for more Antiheroes Anonymous in Exandria. See you then. Bye.